Hello and welcome to Our Toronto. I'm Kelda Yoon. Well, there will be a brand new course at Ryerson University this fall thanks to a group of journalism students. Back in June, the group started a petition calling on Ryerson's School of Journalism to implement a course to teach students how to responsibly report on the Black community. And it worked. In September, author and journalist Eternity Martis will begin teaching reporting on race, the Black community, in the media. I sat down with her to talk about why a course like this is so important and timely. What was your reaction when you first heard that these 4 journalism students started this petition, met thousands of signatures to have a course like this implemented at Ryerson?
I thought it was great. I think one thing I keep hearing especially on Twitter, is that we all kind of wished we had this course and that we had kind of rallied together. And it came at such an important time. So I'm really, really glad that this happened. I think that had students not advocated and petitioned for this course, for example, during this moment, we may not have seen a course like this. And it's excellent because I'm not only teaching the course, I'm developing the course. And it's the first course of its kind in Canada. So I get to kind of decide what kind of turned me into the journalist that I am today in terms of reporting on Black communities, and now teach other people that. The kind of structure I'm thinking of this course will be, we start with Black history in Canada. And a lot of students, I think, are going to be really shocked that even slavery existed in Canada. So that's the first kind of myth we're trying to debunk, the myth of Canada's assumption of innocence. So we're going from there, and then we're going into the media stereotypes and portrayals of Black communities, in particular about crime. And I think a lot of what we see in terms of stereotypes of Black communities are perpetrated by the media. So we're going to unpack that. After that, we're going into critical issues affecting the community in terms of COVID, health, education, justice.
What are some examples that you can think of where it's a report or the way a story is framed is racially biased and harmful to the Black community?
One thing we see a lot of is the overrepresentation of Black men in terms of crime reporting. And when I was actually a student at Ryerson, I did a very long feature on crime in the Black community, gun violence, and how it perpetrates stereotypes. So when it comes to especially TV news, there's a lot of overrepresentation of Black men in crime. There's an example in sports where there's Serena Williams, and Serena Williams being called all kinds of names that go back historically to stereotypes of Black women, being angry, being entitled, not being able to show their anger, and just down to her body and the ways in which her body is described the same way that they used to describe slaves on auction blocks. So there's so many ways in which the Black community has been portrayed by media in these ways.
Martis graduated from Ryerson with a Master's of Journalism. Before that, she was an undergrad at Western University in London, Ontario from 2010 to 2014. And it was her experience with racism there as a Black student, a Black woman, on a predominantly white campus that became the subject of her memoir. They said this would be fun: race, campus life, and growing up. Was it a surprise to you, the experiences that you had during your time on campus at Western in London?
Absolutely. I think coming from Scarborough, coming from a place that was so multicultural, it was a real big shock to me to kind of get thrown into this environment where there was a slow buildup of racism. It started with comments like, we don't have a lot of Black people here, or Black people are so funny. And then it started getting quite malicious as the book goes on, as I detail, being at a blackface party, being told to go back to my country. And I think especially the blackface party, and being at Jack's and being approached by 3 white people dressed in blackface who were smiling and leering, the staring, the smirking. I think just to symbolize that we are threatening you. You don't belong here. I think a lot of that has stuck with me, and so I constantly look out for is that person smirking at me? What does that mean?
Martis's family back at home had a hard time understanding her experience. Her dad is Black, but was absent. She was raised by her mom's side of the family, who are from Pakistan. And though they had experienced anti-brown racism, they struggled to understand the ways anti-Black racism affected Eternity.
I don't think they were expecting me to experience anti-Black racism because they didn't see me in that way. So it was quite hard to kind of explain this to people. On the other side, which is a bit ironic, everyone was like, it's 2010, there's no racism in Canada. It wasn't until I got to third year and fourth year when I started meeting other Black students and other women of color who were like, you're not exaggerating, this is happening.
How important was that for you?
It was life-saving, and in in the last chapter when I talk about this, I talk about the importance of sisterhood and friendship. It was so important for me to have that friendship, and so important to, at the end of the day, be like, guys, I'm down, like, let's have a conversation, or laugh about some of those things. And I think had I not had that support group, I would have probably transferred out.
The time is now!
Martis is hopeful that this moment will be different, that the protests, the anger, the grief will lead to meaningful change.
I think a lot of what we're seeing in terms of these conversations about race, this course at Ryerson is the direct result of students being fed up. So it feels like things are changing. I think the fact that we have a pandemic and people are reading, and now my book has sold out. Other books about race and racism are selling out. You go to any bookstore, the whole section is wiped out. So I think that it says something. If people are putting in money and spending time reading and educating themselves, there might be something different around, but it doesn't stop here. This is a long, continued effort.
Martis's writing also focuses a lot on gender-based violence. She says she has learned a lot through the years when it comes to intersectionality and Black feminism, and hopes to bring all that knowledge to her new students as well. And her course is now full.